Record. All right. So somebody asked me, and looked up when the exam for this course is. So courses that meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2, as this one does, have their final on Monday, December 12th at 4 o'clock. So that'll be like 4 to just shy of 6. There may be a class in this room with the final, an evening class at 6. And so for many of you, I've had some people come late to tests, and that would be a problem. I might not be able to give you the time afterward to have your full time if there's another class coming in. So make sure you're here on time. All right. And we know what's on that test. It's going to be 2 parts. It's going to be, one of them is going to be write your own class, and then take some data and make objects of that class, probably array objects of that class, and probably fetch the file. And then the other part will be fetching a JSON file where the data is, where the objects are made for you within the structure of the JSON file. And then the one thing I put on the lab, I think last week, that some people forgot to do is to, last things was to add to the JSON, make sure you understand the structure of the JSON. So if I put something like that on the test, it's not supposed to be the first time you've seen it, but some people didn't do it, so it might be the first time they've seen it. All right, so again, Monday, December 12th at 4 o'clock is the final. We're expecting write your own JavaScript class and make objects of that class after you fetched a data file and parsed it. So rather like what we did with parallel arrays, but instead of parallel arrays, we're going to make various properties of an object. Then sort of repeat the process, but with read a JSON file. So you're not responsible for the objects that are already in the structure of the JSON file. I'll possibly have you at the end add to the JSON file. So it's dangerous because if you get that wrong, then you ruined it, but you can always re-download the original JSON file. And then this sort of normal stuff, display information based on a user's choice and add to a cart or do some kind of a search or something like that. Create a team, create a committee. Those are just really adding to the cart. Okay, so that's what you're expecting. What else should I say about the course? Some people are completely caught up. Some people are far behind. Everything up to test 3 is still worth 90%. Things since test 3 are worth 100% still. And they are eligible for full credit. Those things that are eligible for full credit are eligible for full credit up to and including the night of the final. So that, 11:59 on December 12th. Any questions you have about what's remaining? Yes.
I figured out why objects are so useful. You can actually delete things in there. So much. Now I know.
All right. There are things you can do with arrays. There's like a splice or something like that. You can get rid of things. It's a pain. Objects are better. Yes, yes, that is a lesson. All right, so wandering in. All right, so that's when the final is, Monday, December 12th, for objects that you create from your own class, objects that you get from a JSON file. All right. Objects are useful, which is good because the next course in the programming sequence is object-oriented programming. All right, so let's write another program with objects. And so I have some data in this NFL file, so I'm going to download that file, extract that file, and then move that folder over to my 230. All right, so there it is in 230, open up code. And I already had code open, another code. And let's see my Explorer. I don't have a folder open. Let me open a folder to 230. All right, there it is. Explore. Let's find NFL. There it is. Close some of these things. It'll confuse me later. Got too many things open. All right. So
Thank you.
all right. So not part JSON, but NFL. We're mainly focused on, let's look at the data file. So I have the final is going to be reading a JSON file. So you have to come to terms with fetch and also the structure of the JSON. Which starts with a curly bracket. I've been doing the same. You can vary the structure. I have not been varying the structure. I've been giving you pretty much the same structure most of the time. There is starts with a curly bracket, so that means it's an object. That object has a property called NFL. That property NFL, after the colon, we see a square bracket. That means NFL is an array. Then after the square bracket, we see a curly bracket, so it's an array of objects. And then those objects contain properties like city, team name, conference, division, coach, and image. I don't know when I made this data file or when I last updated this data file. It may be full Washington football team, whatever the hell it is this year. Coaches may have changed. I don't care. All right. If you care, you change your file. All right. So that's what the data looks like, and that's all it is. Okay. So, but I want to change it up a little bit. And what I have here is there is a conference property and a division property. And what I want to do is sort of a discovery in code to find out what the conferences are, rather than assume it's NFC and AFC. I will sort of write code to discover that. And the same thing for the divisions, which I know are, east and west and south and north, but we're going to write code that discovers the conferences and the division. And then a team belongs to a conference and a division. So then we will, a little bit like the art, not quite the same, but we will, I didn't sort of have a conference object and then a division object within the conference and then teams within the division or something like that. It could have been structured somewhat like that, like we saw in the art, but it's not structured that way. It's structured a little bit flatter, but we will try to sort of discover these things. So I don't have a conference object or division object, but I want to write code that will sort of loop through all the teams and find the unique conferences. Okay, so that is the game. All right. So here we go. All right. So I need an HTML. You guys seem to always like just to put it in the folder, which is okay. And I'll just say nfl.html and an abbreviation. Okay. All right. NFL and header and FL. All right. And what are we going to do? We're going to read the file. We're going to make an NFL object. It's going to be global, and we're going to see stuff. Our standard, we like usually have an on load. And I got my quotes screwed up. So I'm going to have a script. I'm going to have defined the function populate there. All right. And we're going to read that JSON file. And we're going to make an object. I'll just call it NF. All right. So we are set up to, here is the event, the loading event of the page is going to call a function populate. The function populate is in the script. It's going to fetch the JSON file, use the data in the JSON file to set this global variable NFL. And then we're going to discover the conferences, discover the divisions, and put them in our own, in little drop downs. And then when we choose a division and a conference, then we will display a drop down, not of all the teams, but the teams in that conference division combination. So that'll be fun. Okay. So just to mix it up a little bit, play mostly the same game, but a little bit of mixing up. NFL is going to be all the teams, but we won't be putting all of the teams into the dropdown like we normally do. We're going to just have a selection of them. All right. So how do we play this game? We, of course, cheat. We take our example of fetching a JSON file and copy that and change what we need to change. So where did I have that? In the matrix quiz reloaded, that was one place. Then I fetched a file. That was a text file. Oh, or there was a dog one that was JSON, wasn't there? Let's go for dogs. That's closer because that was a JSON. And where's the HTML here? Dog show. But here's the dog show. I'm fetching. It's a fetch, then catch. And I'm going to put that into NFL, inside populate. And then, not that. Let's save it. Let's get rid of the Explorer, make a little bit more room here. Okay. So what changes? Obviously, the name of the, I didn't open up my JSON. I should have back to, you open up the NFL JSON and then close the Explorer again. NFL.json. is the file I'm reading. If I'm reading text, then I'm going to parse myself. I return response.text. But JSON has a structure that JavaScript understands. And so if I know it's JSON, I return response.json. And it does the unpacking for me and makes the objects. So I want it to do that. I don't want to parse if I don't have to. Then the data is NFL, not big dog. And then I'm not going to do the select thing just yet. So it's not the select stuff. I'm going to do something with the select, but not quite this. So I'm going to comment that out and come back later. So I just want to see what? I want to see if I have the NFL. So let's see if I have, I don't want to alert NFL, let me console log NFL. So have I read the data? That's all I want to know at this stage. So the page is totally boring, it does nothing, but have I read the data file? So that's just little fave icon thing, which is nothing to concern us. Here's NFL. It's got an array of 32 things in it. And there's like Philadelphia Eagles, yada, yada, yada. So we've read the data file. We have that information in our global variable NFL. Okay. So now we want to, what did I say we want to do? I want to have a drop down for conference. I want to have a drop down for division and then a drop down for the teams, but only the teams that are in that conference and that division. Okay, so let's make 3 selects. Come on, there we go. Not quite. There we go. Select ID cell division. My fingers are not doing what I'm saying. Cell division. Cell conference. Cell team. So now I know that the options for them are NFC and AFC and East, North, South, West, but I'm going to pretend I don't know that. And I want to discover it from what's in the data. Okay, so I'm going to loop through the data and pull out the divisions. So that goes here. When I have the data, I want to find the divisions, find the conferences. So I'll say let div equal an array, not dev, but div. That's going to be an array of distinct divisions. So we're doing, again, we're dealing a lot now with data, so we're sort of touching on database. And so this is like a distinct. If I were to say from my data, select the divisions, I'd get all this repetition. But if I said select distinct, then I would only get the 2 or 4 distinct things, whatever they are. I can never remember which thing is the division and which thing is the conference. Again, because I don't care. So we're going to loop through our data, NFL, And then the arrays within NFL. So I think that's the NFL property. And then we are going to pull out divisions that we don't already have and add them to our division list. Okay. So it's NFL dot, or yeah, because I called it NFL, and then with the property is NFL, so it's going to be NFL.NFL, which is maybe a little awkward. So I'm going to loop, standard loop for let I equal 0. Let not let again. I less than what? I called it the big thing NFL. It's got a property NFL, and that has a length. Okay. And so I want to, I have an array for the division. And I want to loop through my NFL.NFL objects, and they have a division property. And I want to know, is the division of the ith team, is it is that division in my array of divisions? And we know how to look for something either in an array or in a string that's index of. So we're going to use the array version of index of. We're going to look in our array of divisions for the ith team's division. And if we don't find it, we're going to add it. All right, so let's try that. So I am looking in my division array. I'm going to do a search of my division array. But for the ith team, NFL.NFL square bracket I, that's the ith NFL team. And then the team has what properties? I'm interested in right now in the division. All right. And then if I don't find it, I get a -1. So if it's equal to -1, that means I didn't find it. If I didn't find it, I want it. I want to add it. So that will be division push that division. So I'm looping through the teams. I'll loop through NFL.NFL up to the length. I'm asking, does my array division, does it have the division of the ith team? If it does not, I'll get a -1. And if I do get a -1, then I want to add the division to my list of divisions. And then I'm going to just alert them to see if I get my divisions. East, north, south, west. I never remember which one's division, and apparently that's the division. Okay. I didn't get east, 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 east. Well, how many of them are there? Probably 8 easts, and I think there are 8 of each. I didn't get the repetition. I only added it. I only pushed it if I didn't find it. So the first time I find it, I add it, and the other times I find it, I skip over the if because I've already found it. Are we okay? 2 half nods and nothing else. Okay. Let's do the same game conference. So this is going to be NFL, NFL length, or I could put them in the same loop if you want. I can have the loop over the NFL teams is the loop over the NFL teams. I can have the loop twice with one if each time, or I can have the loop one with two different ifs in it. Which makes more sense to which do you want?
In the same.
In the same loop, okay. So forget all that. And I'm going to copy this. And we're going to say if conference conference hopefully I spelled that correctly. My array, I think I was CONF, and then the property was conference spelled out. Okay. So now I'm alerting, let me alert the divisions and the conference and see. There's the divisions and there's the conference. Okay. So I'm not assuming that I know the divisions in the conference. I have discovered them from the data. I've effectively done for the database people, select distinct. I found the distinct divisions. I found the distinct conferences. Now let's play our usual game of a loop over the division. So let doing that today. I less than div dot length. I plus plus. And I need what? I need the select, which was cell div. Let my select select my select. Document get element by ID, standard game. Cell div. My option down here. Document create. Create elements. I'm creating an option. I'm going to set its text. To the division. Div I. This is a case where it's not useful for me to make the value the I. Because I want to relate this to the original stuff. And so this I plays no role in my global array. I that I would be putting in here is just 0 and 1, and it's got no role in my global array of teams. So it's going to be more useful in this case for the value to just be the divisions. Because the divisions spelled out, that's what's in the original set of data. That's what I have in my global variable. So this is an exception to our rule.
I don't know what your exact end goal is. Like all the team I values and then just, then do that as a value.
You want what, a parallel?
Just like, so. To the text, so just say like East has like 5 teams. And then it's the value of that would be an array of all the indexes of those 5 teams. Consisting of the division East.
Sorry, you're saying. Sorry.
No,
I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm saying I don't know what you're saying.
so it's in a, I'm just referring back to the object, to the JSON file,
Yes.
and each team has an I value, right?
Effectively,
I'm
yes,
gonna say-
because they're array, yes, they have. a
Yeah,
position.
so what I'm saying is like, before even this loop. That would be weird.
Okay. All I want to say here is again that my original global array that I have has indices, but there are 32 teams, and there are only, what am I in divisions? There were 4 divisions. So these indices of division have nothing to do with the division with the indices of my NFL teams set of objects. So usually knowing the index helps me. Here it would not. So I've made the value just the division spelled out again. And let me add my select append. And we're appending the division. No, we're appending my option. What am I saying? So I should have hopefully a drop down now with the divisions displaying if we've done what I hope we've done. There are the divisions. Okay. Now we want to do the same for the conference. If I'm going to use the word my select, I can use the variable my select again, but I shouldn't say let twice. So I can either say my select 2, which maybe I will do, or I could use the select again. I think I will use my select 2 because I'll probably want to dispatch an event for each. So I want distinct variables at this stage. So I'm going to say paste my select 2 and my select 2. I don't have to say my option 2. You saw that when I copied it, it complained to me, and I better change that div to a conference before I forget. And then I'll come back and blather on a little bit, but conference, conference. Okay. So I copied what I had, I pasted it below, I changed the divisions to conference. Okay. You saw, I hope, that I had, when I pasted that code above again below. So when I copied 40 to 46 down and 47 to 53, I got a little squiggly on 47 on my select because I had already declared it with the let. I said I'm going to have something called my select, and it was yelling at me to say, you already have such a thing. It did not yell at me for my option. I have a let my option in 42, and it's not complaining about 49.
Because it's local to the board.
Because it's local to the border. It also doesn't complain about my let I. I keep saying let I over and over again. And that's because, as he says, it belongs just to the loop. Belongs to the loop and nobody else. And so as soon as the loop is over, it disappears. My select belongs to the function, to the populate function, but not to the loop. It has a bigger life. So I and my option only belong to the loop. When the loop is done, so are those things. And so I could use those names again. But my select hangs around for the whole populate, and so I can't use that name again. I could use the variable again without the let if I wanted to use that variable twice. But I want to dispatch an event for select, and I want to dispatch an event for my select too. So I decided to give them two different names. Okay. Let's save it. Let's see where we're at. There is the division. There is the conference. Okay. Now I want the teams, and I only want the teams that belong to that conference and that division. And then I want that to also happen anytime I change the option or the division.
You just put our own change function to both of them.
So I'm going to give them, I'm not going to populate the teams here. I'm going to write an on change and populate the teams there. And the function is, I'm going to have the same function handle the two on changes. I'm not going to write two separate functions for populating the team. I'm going to have one function in both change events call the same function. Because I want to do the same thing. I want to find out what the conference is. I want to find out what the division is. I want to populate. So why write two functions when it's really just one thing I'm doing? All right, so let's do that. So I need an on change here. And what am I going to do here? I am going to put the teams. I'm going to load up the teams. What do you want to call the function? Change teams, okay. So this is change teams. This is change teams. And the other one, select team, is going to be different. Then I'm going to show you a picture and show you who the coach was and crap like that. But in this function, what I'm going to do is put different teams into the drop-down list. So this is not display team. This is change teams with an S. All right, so we need to write that function outside of our other function. Open close parenthesis, open close curly. And what are we doing? We are going to loop over our teams. And we are going to say if they belong to the chosen division and if they belong to the chosen conference, I'm going to add them. So I need to get the chosen division and the chosen conference. That's first. Standard thing of handling a select is to find out what they selected. I can call my variable if I want div and conf, because this variable here, 27 and 28, which was an array, is local only to the populate function. So I could use those names again, or I could say to distinguish it from, and from what's above, even though the computer doesn't care, we could call it like user conference and user division. What do you want?
If we use the same one, we call them global variables.
If they were global variables, that's not going to help us, because the one time we used it, it was an array. In populate, the conference is an array of 4 things. And down here, what we want to get is an individual thing. So they're not the same thing. We are allowed, they're not the same thing. So do you want me to use different names because they're not the same thing, or we could use the same names because there's no confusion, because they both have their time, and they both have their time and place. So we could use the same name, but if it helps you to distinguish them, then I would say call it user conference and user division, and just to distinguish it from the set of them, but there's just one choice. All right, that's what I'm going to do. But if you just called it division and conference, it would work. It would not be confused. The computer would not be confused because of what we call the scope. What was in populate has a populate scope, and what's in change teams has a scope in change teams, and we would not be confusing. I'm confusing you, but the computer would not be confused because of the scope. Those things only exist in a certain place. So user division, okay. And that is going to be what? Standard stuff, document. Get element by ID. Cell division dot a value. And same thing again, but conference. Okay, so we've got the user division and the conference. I hope that's right. And then I'm going to loop over the teams and ask if the user's division is a division of that team, and is a Boolean and if the division is a division and the conference is the conference, then I'm going to populate so I'm going to do a let my select is document get element by ID, and this was cell team. And then I'm going to loop over the teams. Let I equals 0, I less than, what did I call it? NFL dot length. I plus. And if NFL dot NFL I, that's the team, if its dot division is equal to the user division, and NFL and dot NFL I dot conference is equal to the user conference, we want to add it. So then we'll make an option and we will add the option. All right, here, is that not fun? All right, so if NFL dot NFL I dot let's go for division, if that's equal to the user's division, and which is 2 ampersands, if NFL dot NFL I dot conference is equal to the user conference. Then we want an option for that team. Oh, let's play the game we played yesterday. No, Wednesday. When I chose a new painter, I wanted to get rid of the old painter's paintings. And what did I do to the select?
Now equals this one.
Yeah, my select dot inner HTML is quote, quote. So clear out old options. All right. And then if the division matches the user's division and the conference matches the user's conference, then what do we want to do? We want to say, let my option equal document create element of an option. My option dot text is going to be the name of the team. Do you want the city and the team or just the team? What do you want? City and team. You're a pain in my ass. All right. So NFL I dot, so it's going to be the city probably first, right? The city, and some space, and that's probably what I would do. So you're as much pain in the ass as I am. All right. And then this would be the team. There, the team name. Glad I looked. Team name. Did I capitalize the N? I did. Yeah, I did. I would. All right, but I don't always. You can't think you know my what I would do, because even I don't know what I would do. This time, the value of I is useful because this I is the I of our global array, and so will be useful to us. And then we need to add it. My select dot append child my option. Save it. Let's hope. So we get the user division, we get the user conference, we get the select team, we clear out select team. We're looping over all of the teams, NFL.NFL. And if the division of the NFL is the user's division and the conference matches the user's conference, then we're going to create an option with the name of the team and the value being the index, and we're adding it to my select. Cross your fingers, okay. We didn't dispatch any events, so we can't expect it to happen right away, but what if we change? Oh, East AFC, is that the Buffalo Bill? I have no idea. NFC, there's the Eagles, okay. Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Washington football team, which is, well, I don't know, whatever the hell it is now. Okay, so I'm pretty much out of time. What do we need to do to finish this? We need to dispatch, go back up to the fetch and dispatch a select, my select, dispatch event change. My select 2.
We need to do them both.
They're both handled by the same method. So we really only need to do one, you're right. Yeah, you only need to do one because they're being handled by the same function. So dispatch one event, and then we need to write, and we need to write a change for the new dropdown, for the team dropdown. and display an image and the coach and whatever the hell else. But I'm out of time.
How is value of I useful?
Because this is the I. I'm looping over the original NFL. And this is the I of the NFL, which is my remembered global object. So when I get, and I haven't gotten, like when I have now just the 4 teams, the Eagles and the Cowboys and whatever, it is, I still have I still have my array, my global array is still all the teams. But if I know its position, this I that was down there at the bottom, that is the position in the original array. And that I still have the original array. So if I know its position in the original array, I can grab all its information, all its other properties.
I didn't realize that.
So we didn't finish, but we got the hard part. Stop recording. See you.